Alright guys, welcome back to RR Car Reviews. Today we'll be changing the engine oil and the filter on a 2014 Nissan Note. If you like this content, just remember to like, comment and subscribe. Alright, before we get started, just a few things that you're gonna need to carry out this procedure. You're gonna need the engine oil. I prefer this brand, Amsoil. Today I'm gonna be using 5W30. I generally use 10W30, but I looked at the owner's manual and they recommended 5W30. So this time around, I'm just going to be using 5W30. You're also going to be needing the oil filter. You're going to be needing a ratchet handle and a 14mm socket. Right? You're going to also need a container for the waste oil. Alright, so we're going to need the car to be jacked up. But before we do that, we just have to make sure that we have something holding the back tires. So I generally use, say, a stone or something to make sure that the car doesn't roll back whilst I'm doing what I'm doing, right? So just get our jack from the back of the car. We hook it up under one of these points and we simply jack up the car. Just a note guys, when you're working underneath a car, you should always try to get jack stands. I mean, I don't have jack stands right now, but I'm just gonna try to work as carefully as possible. If you don't have jack stands, you run the risk of the car falling while you're working underneath it. Alright, so guys, on this 2014 Nissan Note, the oil filter is located right here, and this is the oil pan. Right, so to drain the oil, what we'll need to do is to remove this bolt right here using the 14mm socket, and then we also need to replace the old oil filter. Now the oil filter is hand tightened, so you can literally use your hand and just untighten it to remove it, right? But the nut, you definitely need the socket to remove that. Alright, so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna set our waste container underneath the car. So you wanna make sure that the container is in line with the bolt for when the old oil is coming out. Just wanna move it just to the right place, right? Alright, so you're gonna get your 14mm socket and put on a nut right here. Make sure you turn it to loosen it. Then you can just simply loosen with your hand. And see, all the oil is draining into the container. Alright, so we're just gonna come back when the oil finishes draining. One way to get the oil to drain a bit faster is you can just simply remove your oil cap. Alright, so the oil in the catch can is almost done draining, but we can just go ahead and remove the oil filter. Okay, so it's having problems taking the filter off by hand. So one option you have is to use a screwdriver and a hammer and just hit the screwdriver right through the filter, because I mean we're gonna toss this filter anyway, so it doesn't matter if it gets damaged. Or you can buy a tool that can be used to wrap around the filter and use the ratchet to loosen it. So once you hit the screwdriver through the filter, you can just use it to get leverage to spin the filter off, right? Just let the oil drain a bit and then you can loosen it with your hand. Alright, so engine oil is used to lubricate and to protect the engine from wear and tear. So it's a good practice to change it occasionally. I mean, I generally change mine every 5,000 kilometers, but it's dependent on your driving habits. One way to kind of check if it's time to change your oil is to just look at the color. It's supposed to be like an amber looking color. If it's dark and dirty, it's pretty much a good time to change your oil. So just make sure that you have the pan underneath catching all of that waste oil. Then you can just loosen the filter. And it just comes right off. And so we'll just let that drain a bit to make sure all the oil is off. When installing the new filter, I like to ensure that the new filter has some oil in there, and I like to lubricate the gasket as well. I mean, this is optional, but I just like to do this. When putting on the new filter, it's simple as just putting it on, making sure it lines up, and just hand tighten. And that's that. So the next step is to put the drain plug back on. So just put it back here. Make sure it lines up as well. And tighten. So unlike the filter, this plug you can't just hand tighten it. So you have to make sure that you use the ratchet and tighten it. Alright, so that's it with installing the new filter and putting back the drain plug onto the oil catch can. Alright, so the next step is just to put the new oil in the car, and then we're pretty much done. Just make sure when you finish installing, you can just wipe down the area, wipe down all the excess oil. Alright, so now we're just gonna fill the car with oil. Just to avoid this mess, you could just simply use a funnel. Alright, the car uses about 3.5 quarts of oil. Alright, so we just wanna, when finished filling up, we just wanna close back our oil cap and lower the car just to make sure that we fill it up right. So we're just gonna lower it, start the car, let the oil circulate for a bit, and then we're just gonna check the level of the oil in the engine. Alright, so we're just gonna start the car and allow it to run for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Just to ensure that all the oil is circulated properly. So the car has been sitting for about 30 minutes. So we're just gonna check the oil level to see if it's fine. Alright, so just gonna pull the oil dipstick and take a look at where the level is. Alright, so it's at H, which is high, but the car is on a slight incline, so the level should be fine in the car. And I mean, that's it, guys. That's all it takes to change your engine oil and filter. Go ahead and click that like, subscribe, and share button. And don't forget to click that bell so you don't miss any updates when a new video is posted.